Dan, you lucky man. Is your luck about to run out? Firstly, I'm just going to need to take a moment. Okay, moment's over. As Tamra was murdered and Janelle was banished, we have seen the last of Janelle's VTs and Tamra's hats. At least I still have Trishelle's hat game. I'm going to need some more Sandra VTs though.
I'm totally disappointed that there's no shields in the house. There should be shields in the house for the people that hate to run like me and Phaedra.
In another video, I mentioned how I thought Dan was going to be the first traitor eliminated after MJ and Larsa had voted for him in episode 3. At that point, I thought his name would come up again in episode 4, but no one, including Larsa and MJ, voted for him. With Larsa banished going into this episode, I thought it would work well for Dan and his name would once again not be mentioned. To my surprise, it was. What was also surprising was not only did MJ not vote for him, but it looks like she was actively trying to save him by telling him Janelle was pushing his name as a possible traitor. What's going on, MJ? Seriously, what's going on? I'm trying to understand the logic and tactics of some of these fatefuls. Janelle had totally clocked Dan because she recognises his moves from Big Brother, but because people were also gunning for her, it became a battle of the Big Brother contestants. At the round table, Trishelle said Dan is not a good faithful because he's not helpful. They pushed Dan to finally name someone he thought was a traitor, so Dan went in on Janelle. With 9 votes for Janelle and 5 for Dan, Janelle was banished and Dan prevailed. How much further will Dan last in the game? That is the question, because Peter has Dan on his list and he set what could be a brilliant trap. Peter came up with a plan to not reveal who won the shield to protect the 6 that were outside during the challenge. He also thought that the traitors would try to murder Bergie. Peter told CJ, Dan and Parvati that him and Janelle had won the shield, even though Bergie and Trishelle had actually won it. Parvati and Dan mentioned this, and Parvati even clocked that Peter's lying, but Dan really wants to murder Bergie. The question is, if they do try to murder Bergie, will Peter stick with voting for Dan, or will he switch to CJ or Parvati? The other question is, going by the previews, Dan is going to strike against someone. Will he take a shot against a fellow traitor, or maybe Peter? I also want to say to Kevin and Cherie, I feel your pain. I am also useless with maps, whether on paper or on my phone. I don't know how I get anywhere when I need to use one. I had questioned whether or not I was finding this entertaining or another reason why celeb versions aren't necessarily my favourite. I fully decided to just jump on board and enjoy the entertainment. I mean, how can a bunch of celebrities doing bird calls not be entertaining? And Phaedra wanting boiled eggs when they were being somber and serious about Tamra's death. Like, I know you led with her murder, but you could pretend to be bothered for appearances. I have to say, Parvati did well to work Phaedra after the confrontation. I noticed that move. I was not aware of your work. I still believe that sometimes the contestants are bordering on personal attacks rather than actually trying to find traitors. I mean, what on earth was that between Janelle and Sandra at the round table? Speaking of, what's with Kevin? Is he like that normally, or is it just on this show? With Kate now in the game, I am here for whatever chaos she could possibly cause. I mean, that comment about not accepting a drink from Parvati, she doesn't realise she has just low-key solved a mystery. Do you think Dan will survive next week? Do you think he will try to take a fellow traitor down? Let me know in the comments. For more videos about the traitors, click on the video on screen. See you next time.